Welcome friends to Narang Bankers Training Institute. Today we shall discuss NPA norms or Prudential Accounting Norms. Friends, you must be aware that Prudential Accounting Norms were implemented in banks in India on the recommendations of Narasimhan Committee on Financial Sector Reforms. Narasimhan was one time governor of RBI, and when P.V. Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister of India, and he was ably aided by Dr. Manmohan Singh as Finance Minister. A series of reforms were implemented, and prudential accounting norms was one of them. These prudential accounting norms relate to three areas. First, income recognition. Second, asset classification. And third is provisioning. Before we switch over to income recognition, asset classification, and provisioning separately, we must be aware what is an NPA. As per current guidelines of RBI, a non-performing asset shall be a loan or advance where, in case of term loan, interest and an installment of principal remains overdue for a period of more than 90 days. And you are well aware that term loans is granted for acquiring capital assets, and if the interest or installment or both are outstanding beyond 90 days, the account is classified as NPA. In case of working capital advance, that is overdraft and cash credit, NPA norms are slightly different. Instead of calling overdue, the word used in case of CCOD is the account remains out of order for a period of more than 90 days. Because in case of cash credit overdraft, there is no installment fixed, only a sanction limit is fixed within which the party can operate any number of times, so long as he is submitting stock statement regularly, he is paying interest regularly, and the account remains within limits. In case of bills finance, we are aware that demand bills are purchased and usance bills are discounted. So in case of demand bills, when the amount is demanded from the party liable to pay on the instrument, if it remains overdue for more than 90 days, it is called NPA. And in case of usance bills, which are always discounted, a due date is there. If the account remains overdue, even beyond 90 days from the due date, it is called NPA. In case of agricultural loan, whether finance is given for working capital or it is given for acquiring capital assets like tractor or pump set, the recovery has to come from sale proceeds of the crop. For this purpose, crops grown by the farmer are classified into two categories: short duration crops, which mature within 12 months, and long duration crops are those which mature after 12 months. So if the amount is to be recovered from sale proceeds of short duration crops, and if the amount remains overdue beyond two crop seasons, it becomes NPA. And in case of long duration crops, it is one crop season instead of two crop seasons. In all other cases, when the amount receivable remains overdue for more than 90 days, it is called NPA. Well friends, now we will switch over to first component of prudential accounting norms, that is income recognition policy. As per RBI guidelines, policy of income recognition must be objective and based on record of recovery. Whenever interest is debited to the account, it cannot be treated as income unless and until it is realized. हिंदी में कहते हैं इनकम उसी को जानिए जिसकी वसूली होए, अगर वसूली नहीं हुई तो काय की इनकम है. Therefore, interest charged to NPA account cannot be recognized income. However, there are certain exceptions to this principle. Interest on advances against term deposit, NSC, Indira Vikas Patra, Kisan Vikas Patra, life insurance policy may be taken to income account on due date provided adequate margin available in the account. It can be easily understood. In case of term deposit, bank is paying interest, and if somebody has availed overdraft or loan against term deposit, so there is no harm in charging the interest because that interest will be recovered from interest payable on the term deposit. Same case it applies to NHC, Indira Vikas Patra, Kisan Vikas Patra, and life insurance policy. In case of life policy, as the time passes on, surrender value of the policy goes on increasing and recovery of the interest is ensured. Next we come to second pillar, asset classification. Broadly, assets can be classified into standard. Within the standard, there are two categories, regular and special mention account. And second is NPA. NPA accounts can be classified into three categories, substandard, doubtful, and loss. So first we will discuss what is a standard account. As the name indicates, risk is the basic character of banking business. So even in standard asset there is risk. A standard asset is one which does not carry more than the normal risk. Normal risk will always be there in banking transaction. So regular accounts are those where is not more than normal risk. And special mention accounts, that means it is showing symptoms of turning into NPA. That is why some banks prefer to call these accounts as potential NPA. I am reminded of a Hindi movie song which says like this, Amma dekh, tera munda bigda jaye. Bebe dekh, tera munda bigda jaye. The special mention accounts are accounts if proper care is not taken, it can turn into NPA. I will switch over to classification of NPA and their further definition. So within NPA, first category is substandard. An account which has been declared as NPA can remain in substandard category for a maximum period of 12 months. Thereafter, it has to be compulsorily moved to doubtful or loss assets. Normally, it is moved to doubtful assets. An account which has been NPA for more than 12 months but less than 36 months remains in doubtful category. That means, indirectly, that means that if the period exceeds 36 months, the very recovery of the loan becomes doubtful, and that is why it is moved to loss assets. It is considered as uncollectible, even though loss assets are declared by the internal auditor or RBI inspectors. Only then the account is classified as loss. Now the question comes, normally an NPA account is, friends, we just discussed categories of NPA, substandard, doubtful and loss. The question that naturally comes to our mind, what are the circumstances where an NPA account can be straightway classified as loss or doubtful asset? There are certain circumstances. We shall discuss those. So when an account is declared NPA and the realizable value of both primary and collateral security falls below 10% of the outstanding balance, the account is straightway classified as loss asset. अपने शब्दों में कहें, जब मरीज के बचने की उम्मीद 10% से कम रह जाए तो उसकी अंत्येष्टि की तैयारी कर लेनी चाहिए. इसका मतलब when the value of realized both primary and collateral security falls below 10% of the outstanding balance, so the account will be straightaway classified as loss. And when this realized value of both primary and collateral security is above 10%, but less than 50% of the outstanding balance, it is straightaway classified as doubtful. From these 2 points, we can make out the account is classified as substandard only when the realizable value is above 50%. If it is less than 50% but more than 10%, it goes straight to doubtful category, and if it falls below 10%, straight goes to loss category. Well, friends, now we'll switch over to third component of prudential accounting norms, that is provisioning norms. First of all, we will discuss provision on substandard assets. In case of substandard assets, the rate of provision has been fixed at 15% of the outstanding balance. At one time, it used to be 10%, now it is 15%. However, in case of unsecured exposures classified as substandards, the rate of provision is 25%. Still, within unsecured exposure, if the unsecured exposure is in respect of infrastructure loans, the rate of provision is just 20% instead of 25%. Now the question comes, what is unsecured exposure? Please remember, unsecured exposure is entirely different from unsecured portion. Suppose an NPA account is showing balance of 1,50,000 and secured portion is 60,000. Unsecured portion of the loan will become 90,000. That is unsecured portion. This is not unsecured portion, this is unsecured exposure. I am suddenly reminded of an example. एक आदमी अपने बेटे को लेके घुमा रहा था, तो किसी और उसके साथी ने उससे पूछा, यार तू बेटे को कुछ खिलाता नहीं है क्या? कांगड़ी पहलवान बना रखे, इसकी हड्डियां तक दिखाई दे रही है। ओह, लगता है तूने मेरे बेटे को पहली बार देखा है। ये कांगड़ी पहलवान कहता है कि तू जितना मर्जी खिला ले, मैं मोटा होने वाला नहीं हूँ। इसका मतलब ऐसे एडवांसेस जहाँ वैल्यू ऑफ सिक्योरिटी राइट फ्रॉम द बिगनिंग एब इनिशियो 10% या उससे कम हो, उसको हम अनसिक्योर्ड एक्सपोजर बोलते हैं। वैसे अगर सोचा जाए तो unsecured exposure should be straightway classified as loss asset. But suppose this unsecured exposure is given to a very reliable person. Suppose I come to your branch and avail an overdraft of 25,000 from your branch manager. And you know Mr. Narang will definitely pay it back. I forgot and you also did not remind me. And 90 days period is over. So it will be classified as NPA. So in that case, branch manager may not like to declare it as loss asset because he is sure that Narang will pay up once he is reminded. So it will be unsecured exposure. So instead of 15% provision, because the value of security is much less, we'll make a provision of 25%. Well, friends, we have so far discussed, as far as provisioning norms are concerned, we have discussed provision for substandard assets. Now we will move to next category of NPA, that is provision on doubtful assets. So in case of doubtful assets, 100% provision is made for unsecured portion. And in case of secured portion, the rate of provision depends on age of doubtful assets and the current rate is as under. If the account has been doubtful up to 1 year, 25% of secured portion is the rate of provision. And if it is above 1 year and up to 3 years, 40%. That is, we have already made 25% provision in the first year. So during this period, after 1 year and up to 3 years, 15% additional provision is required to make it 40%. And if the doubtful asset has been more than 3 years, then 100% provision is made. That means in case of doubtful assets, which has run for more than 3 years, rate of provision is 100% both for secured as well as unsecured portion. And in case of loss assets, both for secured and unsecured portion, provision rate is 100%. You must be seeing some example illustration on provisioning on the screen. Before we discuss that, I would like to highlight certain things which are not given directly in the circular of RBI. First thing, be it standard asset, substandard asset, or loss asset. The provision is certain percentage of outstanding balance. Secured portion and unsecured portion are not bifurcated. It is only in case of doubtful assets that secured portion and unsecured portion are bifurcated, and unsecured portion attracts 100% provision, whereas secured portion attracts 15%, 25%, 25%, 40 and 100%. So this example we will read. Date of declaring the account as NPA 15th July 2020. Category of NPA substandard. Outstanding balance 2.4 lakhs. Secured portion 1.5 lakhs and unsecured portion 0.90 lakhs. That is 90,000. So how much provision we should make? Before we decide how much provision is to be made, let us see what is the category of NPA. The category of NPA is clearly indicated as substandard. So in the given example, the examiner is trying to confuse you by giving secured portion, unsecured portion separately. Because secured portion, unsecured portion is required separately only for calculation of provision for doubtful assets. So this is not the case. So in this case, it will be just 15% of the entire outstanding. That is 2.4 lakhs. Iska 15%. That is 36,000 will be the rate of total provision required on substandard asset. Now we will switch over to provision on standard assets. Now the natural question that comes to our mind, the account is being declared as standard asset as provision is required. It is akin to a person had a daughter the other day and he opened a Sukanya account. It is the sign of a very intelligent father. He knows that she is to be married after she attains the age of 18 years. So if I start saving right now, when she becomes major, sufficient amount will be there and I will not have to worry about that. So when the account is standard, rate of provision is very low. But some provision has to be made because nobody knows when the account will turn NPA. So the general rate of provision on standard asset is 0.40. That for every 100 rupees, 40 paisa is the rate of provision. However, in case of direct agriculture advances and advances to micro and small enterprise, it has been retained at 0.25%. That is for 100 rupees, 25 paisa provision is required. For commercial real estate, loans for purchase of shops or loans to property dealers, loans to builders for building commercial real estate, the rate of provision is 1%. In 2010, RBI said that in case of housing loan granted on teaser terms, the rate of provision will be 2%. Now, one can just remember it, but it would be better for us if we understand what is teaser terms. When we say don't tease me, mujhe tang mat karo. So in what is this teaser term housing loan? Banks in their bid to attract new customers to housing loans offer them, we shall allow you housing loan at 6%. Come to us, No bank is allowing you at 6%, we will allow you at 6%. But remember, after 3 years, the rate of interest will become 10%. So this is called teaser terms. When the rate is suddenly increased, there is every scope, every chance that the borrower may turn rebellious and say, "Kar lo jo karna hai, I don't pay, I don't care," and the account may become NPA. So in such cases, the rate of provision is 2%. But once, even after raising the rate of interest, the party continues to pay the installment regularly, RBI said reduce it to below 0.40. That is general provision rate. Now we'll switch over to special points pertaining to NPAs. There are three types of points which one has to remember logically. First is classification is done borrower wise and not facility wise. In other words, if one person has availed CC limit also and term loan also, his CC loan is account perfectly in order, but his term loan installment is not coming. So we will declare both the account as NPA because it is the borrower who is not paying term loan installment. He may turn the CC account also as irregular. Before he does it, we will ourselves do it. So classification of accounts done borrower wise and not facility wise. In case of advances under consortium, where more than one banks or financial institutions are involved, suppose a big project of 200 crore is financed by HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank jointly, and HDFC account is running satisfactorily, whereas ICICI Bank is not running satisfactorily. So if the first principle is followed borrower wise, both the banks will have to declare the account as NPA. The HDFC Bank will say, why should I declare the account as NPA? Because everything is in order. If it is to be declared, let ICICI Bank declare. Maybe it is because of their attitude something has gone wrong. Otherwise, party is very nice. So it will be bank wise. Bank will classify individual record of recovery of the bank. Whose recovery is not coming, they will declare as NPA. The other bank will not be compelled. Last point. In case of loans to primary agricultural cooperative society, farmer service society, classification is done facility wise. In other words, only those accounts to be classified as NPA in which there is no recovery. Example, a crop loan is also granted to PACS and a tractor loan is also granted. Crop loan recovery is coming in time, but tractor loan installment is not coming. So every farmer might not have availed the facility of tractor loan. So because of certain individual farmers, all the farmers cannot be called bad borrowers. So only those facilities in which the recovery is not coming will be classified as NPA, whereas all other accounts will continue to be treated as standard. To sum up, classification is done borrower wise, bank wise, and facility wise, depending on the criteria. Thank you for your patient hearing.